Hello, everyone. Welcome to this after church tea time, where we're going to discuss today's service on Unionism, the path to our true divine self. I'm very happy to be with you today. I'm Lorraine, and I let the others introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Laurencio.
And I'm Alexandra.
Hello, I'm Alden Richmond.
Nice. So, yeah, we wanted to give our first impressions on the sermon and service right now. So, would anyone like to begin? What did you think about the service?
Well, I liked how there was a focus and emphasis on this life, I guess, versus you could say past lives. Just like it was fun to think about it that way. Like, oh yeah, you've had a different name before, perhaps, probably, and just how certain things change about you, but of course, like your innate essence doesn't change. And that's always pure and untarnished. And so like you're always, that's always accessible to you. It's within you, it is you. And so I liked that, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That was really nice because as Abir was saying, was that yeah, no matter how many times, like how many kind of like lifetimes will pass, like your essence never changes and you always remain the same actually, and God knows that. And even if you experience maybe believing, you're something different, like even having a different name, having a different body, having all of these differences at the core, you're still one and you're still the same. You never change actually in truth, and that's really nice.
Like the essence of you doesn't change it. But I think what's interesting to kind of explore is that it's like you have like a different expression, and how you express yourself is different than like who you are, right?
Yeah, the sermon really touched me. Reminded me of my childhood personally. It was really great to a good continuation to what I've been hearing about like programming and yeah, being my true self. I didn't expect like anything when I started watching the sermon, but I do remember like a few hours ago, I was like, because this is a new chapter of my life at this beginning, I was like, am I choosing the right things? Who am I? Who's my true divine self? And I think this sermon was very healing to watch. Yeah. And yeah, that's interesting what you mentioned, Alexandra, about like how you express is different from who you are. Would you like to like explain a little bit more?
Yeah, what came to mind when I said that, and as I was listening to the sermon, was that you are like a creator with God. You co-create your reality with God, right? And I remember specifically in one life purpose class, Jeff was like, yeah, you feel, and when they were like, especially helping students get to the core of like what their life purpose is, right? And usually the core of like your life purpose is something like,
It's actually simple.
It's very simple. The core of your like life purpose, usually it's something like you help people come back to God. You
love others.
You love others in one way or another, right? But the expression of how that looks like, it can be like different, and you can choose what path you can take. And I think like that's really, really beautiful as you discovering all of these expressions of yourself. So for example, with, and of course you do this with God, and God guides you, and you cannot like control what you're doing when. And I'm just thinking about Jeff and Shalea's journey, how they said in the beginning they wanted to do something else, not twin flames, and I know not twin flame work, something else. And then, you know, God kept guiding them into twin flames, and that's how they had to like surrender into this discovering of themselves and like approach what God wanted to do that then. But they know, for example, that at some point they would explore, you know, divine music. And this is kind of what we're doing now with the Church of Union. It's kind of like a seed of that thought, you know, from the beginning when they said like they wanted to make music. So now in the Church of Union, the songs that are at the beginning, as probably most of you know, are, you know, healed, they're changed to be aligned with the divine, right? So that's a seed of that. You know, of course they would grow more and probably become performers or something like that, but it's an ever-growing journey, and they do have kind of like the same core, you know, purpose, but it can be expressed in different ways, and that's where you can like play with God and really discover yourself deeper. So that's kind of like my what I had in my heart as I was like sharing about like expression, is that you don't need to give up on all the things that you desire or you like, you know, in this journey to like pursue God. And as a unionist, I think, you know, you discover God through following, you know, love, and love feels good. It's following the good feeling and how you desire to express that at each and every moment in your life. So therefore, if you like music, for example, then maybe you are called to create or partner with people that create music in some way. And maybe you cannot do that right now. Like, it's not the next step that you're focusing on in your journey. Maybe you need to focus on healing something, or you need to focus on other areas of your life first, so you can build the foundation until you get to that point. However, that's not lost. That's not, you don't give that away. It's there, you know, it's just you have to grow a little until you reach that level where you can like, that seed of desire within you, you know, can sprout and grow into what kind of God wants for you in that space, you know, like the divine vision that you have with God about your whole life, actually, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you said about, you know, your desires are not lost, but maybe you have a step to reach before you can express that part of you that way. And yeah, like, I love that it's always a healing journey. Like, it's always about healing and coming back to God before you make the choice to have the resources, the time and space to accomplish what you desire. And I find it beautiful. And yeah, I think, like, what we know today in society is like choosing a path, like choosing something very simple to do all your life. And what we are discovering on the Ascension path is that you are this complex being with like desires and different expressions of love. And it's possible to do all of them. And it's like doing the mirror exercise, feeling, makes you see the bigger picture, like pieces of a puzzle that you can finally reunite because they make sense with God. I find it really beautiful. And I think the biggest takeaway from the Ascension path for me is like how being with God, healing, is actually giving a meaning to your desires and to your life purpose.
Yeah, like what I love about what you said here is that really like healing and just coming closer to God. And something that I wanted to add to this is just that it's always about like our desires are what God wants for us. So it's always like as you said, like we're always coming back to God. Well, we always come with our desires back to the point of what God intended in the first place, our desires to be. And it's nice to see how in our journeys, we found this community that helps us to do exactly that in a more easier way than we knew before.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for all the tools that we are given, as unionists to really approach this subject in a way that's very grounded and very, complete in relation to like all areas of your life. Because when you do the mirror exercise, you heal an upset here, but actually you heal that upset from all areas of your consciousness, right? So when you hit the core of some healing, maybe you see that, oh, you have this upset in, relationship with your twin flame, let's say, right? Because we love twin flames here. But that same block is somehow manifested in your life purpose or your career or like your health or like your relationship with your friends or with family. And once you uproot that, you can like easily see that pattern in all areas, and it will be uprooted from like everywhere, if you make that choice of healing. So therefore the change that you are experiencing as a unionist, as you approach this healing, it's I don't know, I'm struggling to find like an adjective to describe how big it is. It's like humongous.
I mean, yeah, it's humongous, but you still like come back to your initial self.
Yeah, but that's it, but that in healing these illusions of separation, right, brings you back to yourself. And I think like at least like for me personally, in healing this and discovering my true divine nature, I always find out that I'm belittling myself when it comes to like, I see myself like so small rather than how God sees me. And, this is why, in a way, I'm saying the change is so humongous, right? Not because of like,
the nature changed, but your perception
changed. My perception change is very, very, it's big, when I return to like my divinity in a way, because, I see that, when we have like fears or egos, we don't see ourselves clearly. And usually we, belittle ourselves. That's my own experience when it comes to this. Isn't like one of the biggest like upsets when it comes to like your twin flame journey, or even, abundance, feeling like we don't deserve it, right? So yeah, that's exactly that. And I feel like, we do deserve to discover true love. And this is what Unionist teaches us, to discover true love. And that obviously like leads us to like our true divine nature.
And our relationship with God.
Yep.
It's like simple, yet so powerful. It's what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling when I think about the work. It's really simple to love yourself. These tools, like they really help you surrender to the truth, your divine nature. But like the change makes you realize the power of love and how powerful your choices are.
Yeah, speaking of change, something I'm thinking about is like how we are also within the times that we're in each lifetime too. And so the way we express ourselves is going to somehow align with the desire and consciousness at this time, which goes beyond time, of course, in a way, like the essence of the desire, but there's something evolving and being expressed, like, right now with the work with twin flames probably wouldn't have been as accepted, however many centuries or whatever ago. So I think that's cool to think about too. Or art, like how art has evolved over time and like the different ways we can express ourselves. Like now there's people doing like music and, like you can make music in your garage and have it like all over, everyone knows about it potentially. Stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
There's something that came to mind when you said that, was like, the art evolved, but what if the art is just coming back to its true nature as well?
Sure, yeah, both you could say, because it is that idea of like going back to the simple place,
Mhm. So does that mean that we actually just, it's not that we actually evolve, we just go back to God in there? And I don't know how to say it better.
But we're expanding too, eternally.
Yeah.
That's the humongous piece. To me, that's what I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like that's beautiful is that, love is ever growing. Like it's not like you achieve this level of love and that's it, and you just stay there, because that's not really how life works. I really loved how in one class Jeff and Shaleia, described the tree, and it's like the tree will grow as much as it can, as fast as it can. It will not stop. It will not stop at 1 meter and say like, no, this is enough, I'll stop now. No, it will continue growing and growing and growing as time goes by. It will still continue to grow and change and evolve, and that's the nature of God. It's growing and changing each and every moment, each and every step. And I think like that's also important to see, and like a really important aspect in like discovering your true divine nature is to not have attachments of who you think you are, right? And who you or how you think you should be. It's just surrendering into the now and really exploring that with God and allowing God to show you. Maybe you've been 9 to 5 kind of person until now, and now you suddenly want to like become a traveler and take over the world or something and explore everything. Maybe that's just the way that God intends it to be for you. You finish with that chapter of your life and you're on to the next. And I think like that's really beautiful that you can have experiences like this with God. I see sometimes stories of people on the internet, and they were like, oh, at 40 I was broke, I had no money. At 45 I started my own business, and at 46 I had my first $1 million or something like that. And while it sounds maybe a bit cheesy, it's at the same time it shows that there is no stopping. Nothing can stop you on this journey. Only, of course, like only if you yourself can stop yourself from
Not even you can stop yourself. You can just like slow it down until the inevitable may happen.
True, right? But yeah, it's you're always coming back to yourself. I think that's really, really amazing, and discovering deeper and expanding at the same time. So it's interesting, how I really love that. What Aldin shared. Coming back to ourselves, but also expanding at the same time in discovering our true divine nature by healing and going back to God, doing the mirror exercise, one step at a time.
Yeah, and like I remember that, I don't know if it was in a class or what it was, but Jeff and Shah said the only constant is the change. So God is ever changing. That's the constant.
Yeah.
I really like that. I really like what you both said. Yeah, it makes me think of that part where when Abir talked about living a life without worry, like living with God is living a life worryless. And I think it's really powerful. And how I see it in my day-to-day lives is that I can plan things and schedule things to have that kind of foundation. Like I feel like God is making me explore all kinds of different things and emotions every day. It's not like, okay, on Monday you explore this and then you stop for a week. It's always changing, always evolving. I think it's evolving as long as you want to evolve, actually. It's really beautiful. It's challenging sometimes, but it's like waking us up to the truth of God. And the beauty is that you don't have to think about it. Like you don't have to be caught up in the life that you are going to be lost. Like you are perfectly guided. And so in being perfectly guided, you are evolving, you are growing, and you are giving more love as you go. I think it's really beautiful to see life that way.
It kind of remembers me, as being a child, so one of the things that we are, right, that in our true divine nature is a child of God, so that's a very childlike attitude, to be worry free, around your parent, which is God, because God takes care of you, at each and every step of the way. And I think that's really really beautiful to see, that for me, that's like that what came to mind when like Abir was sharing about this worry-free life, about returning truly and honestly to being just a child of God, what we're meant to be and which we are. And in order for us to be that, like it's safe to like surrendering keeps coming up for me as I'm just exploring my divine nature, because, for example, one tricky thing that can happen, as you said, it's just God guides you in a direction, but then in the middle of the way, no, you should go the other way. And you're like, what? But you told me to go that way, and now you're telling me to go the other way. What's happening, right? But that's, that's an attachment, and that's like control to like how like the journey is supposed to look like. We're not supposed to know how it looks like or how things go. It's just about like surrendering and taking the path that God wants, desires for us and knows that best for us. Ultimately, we would arrive at like the desired destination.
Yeah, because we don't have the whole plan, and it wouldn't really be compassionate for us to have the whole plan at hand, because it's just like we couldn't really comprehend God's plan. We
we can, right? And so therefore we have to like rely on God here, And also this is also part of our true divine nature. We're not supposed to live life without God. So therefore we're reliant on God and dependent on God, at each and every step.
We're not supposed to have distance from God.
Yeah, exactly. So coming, and the closer we come to like our true divine nature, the closer we come to God, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I think it reminded me of my childhood, especially in my teenage years, like when you are asked to kind of choose where you want to go. And I remember like I wanted this childlike exploration. I wanted to explore what I really wanted to do, and I wanted to explore many things. I was curious, and it was natural for me. And I think my parents and a lot of my extended family didn't understand that, even the teachers. And I think where we could like avoid this programming from now on is like saying that even though we don't understand what the child is doing, like letting the child explore, have this phase of exploration, even like it's in the young adult years. Like, it's okay to explore. It's okay to awaken to this nature that we have of exploration because we do it with God, and ultimately you give your child a good foundation, but it's still God, like a true parent. So I feel like, yeah, for future generations, I feel like it will change and evolve, and you know, have the child will feel more supported because of that, because they wouldn't have to fight you know, all of society to kind of explore what is the divine nature. It feels way more peaceful.
Yeah, and I think like here, like the maybe something that appears, and I know like it was a conditioning that I had to go through, was that I have to choose one path, right? I cannot be a princess, an astronaut, and a vet at the same time. I had to choose one, not all three.
Wait, princess, astronaut, vet.
Yes, a vet, veterinarian.
I understand that.
I cannot be all three. I have to be just one. So I think that's also part of the conditioning here.
You know, I'm trying to imagine like how a astronaut suit would look, as you know, like a princess kind of dress turned into an astronaut suit.
No, don't take this too far. We don't need to go that much into detail.
Well, you already gave me the, you know.
Like, I remember like my mom asking me at 15, like, what do you really want to do? I see you curious about all these things. And I was like, you know, I kind of want to be a humanist. You know, like the old French intellectual people that do science and art, and they like astronomy, and they're interested in many things, and they feel free because they don't have these walls, you know, these restrictions. And it felt good to me. And then as time passed, I guess I shared some things, and I became clearer, I guess, about the things that I really wanted to do and concentrate on. But it felt good. It felt necessary actually to say, okay, this feels good. This does not make any sense right now, but it feels good, and I will learn about it, and I will be open until it doesn't feel good anymore. So yeah, I can see, like, even though it was difficult to kind of explain to my parents how like my journey was perfect in that sense, that I could you know, test out the waters of all these things.
I think, you know, there is, it's hard to explain maybe in the beginning because it's like such an inner thing, you know, but as you said, as long as you follow what feels good, you know, but also, you know, stay grounded, right? You know, I think, you know, our parents do have good intentions here because they know that, okay, we have to earn a living and, you know, prepare ourselves for a family and all of these things that are very basic. And that's, I think like that's, you know, a point from which they're looking at, because we cannot stay in dreamland forever and explore all the possible things. It's about
Living them as well.
living and just taking the next step, you know. So yeah, I think but again, like this is a thing that happens or can happen through I don't know, at least like until you start high school, you can be in this dreamlike state, you know, but I think like afterwards you do have to ground into like something, even if you can't right now, that's okay. Some people, as you said, can take up to maybe in their 30s, they kind of figure something out, that's okay. But I think like as the unionist way expands and grows, and we will have unionist children, unionist babies. Oh my God. There will be like support.
You sound very excited.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
What? What's wrong with unionist babies?
I mean, I didn't say there's something wrong. I just like it was just more like showing it more, you know, that how happy you are about that.
Yes. Well, it's just, you know, I'm thinking, and I think that this is something that as unionists, we think about, like, oh, what if we had this information when we were children, right? And that's okay, because that's how the way that our path was supposed to go, right? We have to like move through this healing to arrive where we're at, and that's okay. But I'm thinking that we're breaking all of these generational stuff that are not so nice, not so divine, and we return to the divine. And you know, if we choose to, like, as a unionist, we would choose to like pass this on to like our children, so therefore the children can have a beautiful way to like a divine way to like go to about like their journey, if they choose. Like, again, God is their parent, right? But
they would at least have this understanding at their disposal, so they can choose whatever they want with their own understanding, let's say.
Yeah.
But they would have these tools at their disposal, at least, you know.
What?
They would have these tools at the disposal.
Yes, they will have the tools at the disposal. Yeah, that's awesome. And they earned that at Souls. I bet they did.
Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't have been born through those.
Anyway, I feel we're derailing a bit. Coming back to discovering your true divine nature. You discover your true divine nature when you also help others discover their own true divine nature. Huh? That's the point of it. Yeah, it's journey we take together.
Oh.
Aldin, it's not like.
Okay, she will come back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, like just a little thing about like children and babies. I think, and even us in like our next lifetimes, we will have that foundation of, you know, feeling our feelings and having a very grounded way of, you know, coming through upsets and getting clear on things. And so children will have, at a very young age, this knowledge of they can do what feels good, but also very grounded in this reality that they need to have a foundation for themselves and to live correctly. So yeah, I think that's the beauty of the tools, is that they're here to stay. And so as we heal, like the next generations, we'll have a beautiful foundation as well. Like they're not going to, well, they're not going to have to build everything from ground zero, because they will already be a thing there. And so
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And just to say that they will be supported into becoming their true, you know, coming back to their true divine nature in a more grounded way than we have. Because we like all of us, like in the Unionism, we had to kind of ground all this information with, you know, Jeff and Shaleia making the classes, going through this process, and right now, like we're just building
a huge foundation
with all the things that's happening. Even like when you look at all the other companies that are arising from this community, you know, like with Map, Divine Gaming, Divine Dish, and who knows what else will come.
Many more.
yeah, like all of those will support in this endeavor.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, part of the one of the purposes of like unionism is to like bring heaven on earth, right? And this is what we're doing by discovering our true divine nature. We align with our place in heaven on earth. So therefore we build this system, based on true love, based on God on earth. So when we return, when we reincarnate, we will not need to go through the same things again, right? Like, and also like Abir mentioned this in the sermon, right? That what you achieved at the soul level, because we are discovering your true divine nature is a soul thing. It's not external. It's not about the activity you do. It's about you going deeper in your relationship with God. So therefore, this is the thing that remains with you forever, and that's why it's so juicy to invest in this. All the time and to focus all your energy in this, because when you come back, you're going to continue right where you left off, which is juicy. And it's very, very nice. At the same time, if you have resistance and you're trying to avoid some things, you're going to deal with them over again until you deal with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And from where you left off, God will always build. Like, I think beautiful thing is that like our generations are healing. Like, Alden is back. Our generations are healing like trauma from childhood and past lives, and once this is done, like we will probably have like missions and things to do beyond what we can imagine today. And so yeah, it's realizing that what we are doing right now is an investment in heaven on earth and in ourselves, in the sense that we know now that we are eternal being, and so it will never be lost. Hi, Aldrin.
Yes, my internet connection got temporarily lost, but was not eternal. So it's good. It was so weird. It just went out. Like it doesn't happen, but it's, I don't know, the internet provider maybe. But anyway.
Yeah, that's okay. What did you hear before it got off?
Yeah, we were talking about childhood and gosh, got pretty into that. Oh, you were talking about like, humanitarian and like a little bit of everything. I'm not exactly sure where I got cut off was after that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. I think we were talking about how the children will have that foundation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was
with
there.
the tools to build on afterwards. And even ourselves in our next lifetimes will have that foundation of the tools, the work, and all that we healed to grow and expand more and, discover our true nature. Because I think like the exploration will never truly stop, like with God, because He is infinite.
Yeah, totally. That's such a good point, because we're really not only investing into others, but we're also investing into our future selves by changing all of that, speaking of being eternal beings. So I love that. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about my childhood because I came across this picture of me in the second grade last week from a memory. And I just realized, like at least in this lifetime, I've always been on my twin flame journey. Like I was looking at like, just my relationships with people in the class and all of this stuff just like came back to me that I hadn't like been able to remember so in depth before. I looked up the school I was at And it was a cool experience because it just gave me more kind of like confidence in who I've always been. Like, it's a funny process. I guess it goes back to that idea of like, we're always kind of going back to the simple place and expanding it, you know? Yeah. Like I'm still myself that I was back then in a lot of ways.
I mean, I understand what you're saying here. It's not, we're still the essence of us. It's, we're still that, but at the same time, like we're with all the changes that we're doing, with all the healing that we're doing, we still recognize that some things haven't yet changed, and we can see that the process of us coming back to God, of course, it's a process, and it takes us. It takes us through this process of really like acknowledging everywhere wherever we've not been loved, and sometimes we just remember places where we have forgotten how we were, and we recognize that we're still the same there, but it's only because now we're ready to finally change that, come back to our true divine nature. I like that.
Yeah, like recognizing the desire that, like, just going deeper with it, that I've always had.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good. I want to change a bit here, if you don't mind. Because I remember something from the sermon that I really liked and I wanted to share. It's about when Abir said about surrendering your body to God, surrendering your mind, your eyes, your tongue, your ears to God, and allowing God to come through you fully. I don't know, just that felt very good to me. Because it was really about that's really like the essence of like coming back to God, coming back to your true self, because it's only God that comes ever through you, and it's about releasing resistance to God coming through you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well, in the sense that we've been talking about how our divine self, shows from the external, but like it's first us as a soul with God, I guess. And so it will be really difficult to put that into words, but like our true divine nature begins because we are not separate from God. And so all of our being is an expression of God. And so I really liked that kind of mentor that she said at the end about surrendering her divine self to God and realizing her divinity every day. It was really beautiful. And I think it's very profound, and it's giving me an idea of how to start my day every day. It's like saying and realizing that my divine self is like God. I am an extension of God, a creation of God. And so starting that way instead of like asking like what on the external makes me, you know. And yeah, I really like that, coming back to the inner and explaining the outer afterwards.
Yeah, it's because ultimately our true divine nature is oneness with God. That's just it. That it's simple, right? But that's just the truth of it. And yeah.
So simple that you don't have any more words.
Yeah, it's not something that you can like, it kind of makes me think of how TFAS is, Twin Flame Ascension School. Jeff said in the first class, Twin Flame Ascension School, that the only lesson that you ever learned in your Twin Flame journey is love yourself. And that's it. But still we have, so many classes, how many, like 300 plus, over 300
no,
classes.
450 classes.
No, just Twin Flame Ascension School. That's it.
Oh, it's actually like, sorry, it was 450 hours.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You don't need to worry about it. It's okay. So, but we have like so many classes, about how to love and learning that, right? So, of course, it's something very simple. It's a simple concept, right? But ultimately, it's our whole being, and returning to that whole being is it's a process of surrender, and that's, I feel, why Abir's like mantra was so powerful, right? Because it's just recenters you into the truth of who you truly are, which is one with God. And we might think, that, oh, maybe surrendering to God, we lose something, right? But that just comes from the thought of separation. And that's what we have to heal in order to return to our true divine selves. Is the separation between that and us with the mirror exercise. So yeah.
I think the reason why the work is not just like one class long is because like you can't really fake being into that state of surrender. Like, I think in a meditation study, Jeff says that peace is the state that you fall into. So it's not something that you can comprehend just with words. Like, there's something inner that is happening at the same time. And so you're like rehashing it and learning it as a soul as well. And so you come into deeper comprehension of yourself and God with, like, I guess, practice and time. And that's why it's a journey, and that's why humor exercise is a daily practice.
Yeah, I think I hear that the main difference is between, knowing and understanding something with your mind and conceptually and living that, For example, I can understand conceptually that a firefighter has a tough time, fighting fires in a building, and that there are people, possibly going through not so nice situation. But it's one thing to understand that conceptually and live it, right? The same thing is like one thing to conceptually understand what, for example, harmonious union with your twin flame is. Like, we know it's simple. It's recognizing your oneness with your twin flame at the core. You can say it in one sentence, but being that, living that, and experiencing that, it's a whole nother thing than just conceptually understanding. But this is why it's like, even with rediscovering your true divine nature, can be maybe possibly said in one simple sentence, like returning back to oneness with God. And that might be the whole sentence that encompasses this journey, but it's conceptually might seem simple. However, being that and doing that is a whole nother piece of cake.
It's a whole cake.
It's a whole cake. So yeah, just that's how I see it, and that's how I felt, at least like when we came into harmonious twin flame union, it was like, I understand, how that what that is, before when we were just in union. I understand what harmonious twin flame union is. Why I'm not there yet, and then when we got there, it was like, oh, okay, that's why. And there's not something that we can like simply explain. I know like everybody that has achieved harmonious union says this, because it's true. However, it's it's a state of being. So it's a process to arrive at that state of being. And we have checkpoints along the way, like harmonious twin flame union is one checkpoint along the way. And other spiritual fruits that you're cultivating in your life are other checkpoints along the way. But, discovering your true divine nature, and I think that this is why this topic is so juicy, is that it's your whole self, right? It's not just about a checkpoint along the way, it's about everything in your life. So that's why it's humongous as well. Yeah.
So how does everyone feel? Like, would you like to add anything? Anything that you noticed from the sermon?
I feel pretty complete, but I guess just thinking about the humongous and what was it, the spiritual fruits, it just made me think of like really big fruit, like really big watermelons or something. Like, I don't know, it's kind of funny. But yeah, like also just the true confidence, I think, is something that I was thinking of this. When you have something conceptualized, you have a certain amount of confidence about it or about yourself. But then as you experience it and you really let God into that place, like there's a whole new level of confidence you just naturally have, and it's not something you can really fake. And so that's something else that came to my mind too.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. That feels pretty complete to me.
Yeah, for us too, I don't know. Yeah, complete.
Cool. So thank you. That was a really beautiful discussion. Thank you to everyone who watched it. If you're watching it from YouTube, don't hesitate to subscribe to see all of our other after church tea time and other discussions like Black Lives Matter. And yeah, really like and subscribe and discover our channel, the Church of England and the Sermons. Thank you. Thank you for watching and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.